Hi everyone, today we're going to be learning about math journaling and how to respond to prompts in our math journals. Our learning target for this lesson is I can formulate written responses to mathematical prompts about evaluating expressions in my math journal. And we're learning about this because writing in math is different than learning in any other discipline. This means that writing in my class is going to be different than writing in science or in history or definitely in English. And writing in a math journal and responding to these prompts is going to allow you to reflect on your knowledge and what you learn. And it'll be in so many different ways that this is going to happen. And it's going to allow you to develop your writing skills and use the mathematical language that we talk with every day, but put them onto your papers. And it's going to shift from focusing on computation and that problem solving when you're just looking at a textbook problem and answering it, to being able to apply your thinking to real world and writing it down and recording your actual thoughts and what's going on in your brain, which is going to be really cool to see what's actually happening and what you're actually thinking about, and then having to write that down and record it, because then you're going to be able to refer to it and keep looking back at what your thoughts were maybe a week ago or a month ago, and it's going to be really cool. And you're still focusing on math when you're doing this and that math component, but in like I said, evaluating expressions is what we're going to be talking about today, just in a different light. And you're looking at it in a way of, how do I write what I'm thinking down? Okay, so let's look at the skill part. So I am going to model how to answer a prompt about evaluating expressions, but I did want to go over how to actually answer math prompts in a journal before I did that. So the skill, you want to first determine what the prompt is asking you. So you want to read the prompt and figure out, what am I supposed to be writing about? Then you definitely want to use mathematical language and vocabulary to answer that prompt. And you have to use proper mechanics and grammar to answer it. So you want to use complete sentences and capital letters and make it like it was in English, because that's how we write. Whether you're in any class, you have to write with the proper mechanics, and that's how it goes. You want to make sure you answer all parts of the prompt. So if it's a 2-part prompt, you have to make sure you answer both parts. And that's because even though you're writing in your journal, if it's a prompt that you are responding to, it still is part of what you're doing. You have to be able to respond to both parts and prove your thinking. That's what you're doing. You're showing your thinking and you're showing what you've learned and what you know. And if it's asking you to describe steps or processes that you know or that you are performing, you want to make sure you're explaining everything that goes through your head, because what it is asking you technically is explaining, okay, what formula did you use, what process, what step, and you have to transfer that all into your journal. So that's what you want to make sure you're doing. That may be a little confusing, so I'm going to show you how I would answer a journal prompt. Okay, so let's look at this prompt. Describe the steps you would use to evaluate the expression 4 times 2x plus 1 squared when x equals 2. Okay, so what is it asking me? So I see describe the steps. Describe the steps. So initially it wants me, I am going to say the steps that are going on in my brain to evaluate the expression 4 times 2x plus 1 squared when x equals 2. Okay, so I just need to explain every step that I take in my head or on my paper to figure out what this expression is equal to. Okay, so I know the first thing I'm going to do is plug in 2 for x. So I'm going to write that down. The first step that I would take, and I am using a complete sentence here. Okay, the first step that I would take to evaluate the expression is plugging in, and that's a phrase we use a lot in math, plugging in the 2 for x. Okay, so now I'm going to say what that would give me. This would give me the expression 4 times, okay, and then, so math-wise, I have to make sure I'm using the parentheses in the right way. So double parentheses there. Oh, I did that wrong already. So plugging in the 2. So that's a good, I just realized that I made an error, went back and fixed it. And I'm going to have to put this all into equation. So 4 times 2 times 2 plus 1 squared. Okay, so there's my equation, or expression. This would give me the expression 4 times 2 plus 1 squared. Okay, so now what I would do. So I know that I have to get the inside the parentheses solved, because I can do that. So, and PEMDAS. We all know PEMDAS. I'm going to use PEMDAS. So parentheses first. I would then solve the inside of the parentheses because of PEMDAS. So I would multiply 2 by 2 and add the 1. This would leave me with, okay, so I know that would be 5, so I would give, I have to do new equation, 4 times 5 squared. Okay, so I've evaluated it so far. I use PEMDAS. So now next step of PEMDAS, I know. So the next step of PEMDAS is exponents. So I would square, that is a mathematical term that I'm using, square the 5, because the 5 and the exponent of 2 are attached because of the parentheses attaching them. I know that the 5 needs to be squared because it is in parentheses and is attached to the exponent of 2. Okay, this would squaring, I'm going to say what it would give me. Squaring 5 would give me, okay, I'm going to say, instead of give me, I would say, I'm going to use mathematical language. I should be. Squaring 5 would equal 25, which would leave me with the expression 4 times 25. Okay, I can then multiply 4 times 25, which would equal 100. Okay, so I just explained every step I would take to evaluate that expression. And I did it using mathematical terms. I went step by step. I explained using PEMDAS. I used the word exponents. I used squared. I used mathematical vocabulary. I used complete sentences. And I made sure that it made sense. And I think I did a good job of answering this prompt using mathematical literacy, which is a very important thing. So I'm going to go back and I want to talk about for a second why this is important and why we're implementing this strategy into our class. So it does allow you to think about the steps and math processes that you're taking. So I just thought about every move that I was making just to evaluate that expression, which I probably could have done in 2 seconds normally. And prompts will not always be to describe the steps or anything like that. That was an example, and that's what we're doing today. But they will be very different each day. But they are going to get you thinking, and that is the purpose of them. And they may help you find an error in your work. I did that a few times just now. And that is good. That is the point of them. They are to get you thinking and get you realizing, oh, wait a second, this may not be right. Why did I just do that? Which leads me to the next point of why these are important. It helps you find the why in what you are doing. A lot of times math is just so boom, 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 let's get it done. Let's go by the formula. We're going to follow every step that we know we're supposed to do, but we don't ever really step back and think, wait a second, why am I actually doing this? Why am I adding those two numbers together? And that is extremely important. So this math journaling will allow you personally to reflect on, why am I taking these steps? Do I know why? And if I don't know why, maybe I can reflect on that and I'm going to get some help on that, or I'm going to see how much I know in regards to that. And it is going to improve your math literacy because, again, like I said, this is unlike any other type of writing. So the more practice we get in it and the more fluent you become in it, the easier it gets and the better you become at it, and you are just going to go up from there. So we are going to be implementing this in our classroom from here on out, but the prompts are always going to be changing. One day it may just be, how do you feel with this subject? The next it may be answering a question or describing the steps. It will always be different, and it could be in the beginning of class, it could be an exit ticket, but it's always going to be in your math journal for you to keep reflecting on. But today, you are going to try now, and you're going to pick a prompt from the basket and get into groups based on the letter prompt that you choose, which will be A, B, C, or D. And each group is going to get a marker and chart paper, and you're going to write a journal response to the prompt that your group has. And after, we're going to do a gallery walk around the room once everyone has finished writing their responses to see how you guys did with your journal responses. So we will see.